Hey guys, welcome to another Monday morning chat with Steffani and Rozella over in Spokane. Good morning, ladies. How are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm well, thank you. Is it overcast and somewhat gray over there like it is over here?
And cold. It's chilly.
Well, March is going out not quite like a lamb, but not like a lion either.
No.
All right, let's dive into sporting. I know you have a fun topic today. What are we going to chat about?
We want to cover some rural land purchase options within Spokane County.
That sounds like fun. Define rural land for us, please, and what that means, and tell us all about it.
Well, rural land is more or less land that has not been developed or built on, basically.
Okay. And
rural land can.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I wasn't sure who you were asking about. Rural land can have no amenities, so no well, no power, no septic, or sometimes rural land can already have well or power provided on it, which would be slight development, but still under your land search there.
And to that, the rural component comes into play because basically within Spokane County, if you were to look at a map, it's going to be a little bit larger footprint that's going to oftentimes cover a lot of those smaller towns that we've talked about before that are on the outskirts of the inner city limits, because basically you would never really be able to find 10-acre parcels right directly into that city. So it could be as close as saying like that Peone Prairie, Green Bluff that we've talked about before. Yep. It could be Cheney.
Airway.
Airway Heights, Otis Orchards, like anything north, anything a little bit south. But it's primarily going to be a general
outskirts of the city limits.
Yep.
And to be a little more specific, we're going to discuss if you were trying to buy rural land 10 to 15 acres. Yep. So we had to narrow it down just so that we didn't have such a broad area.
Yes.
So 10 to 15 acres within Spokane County.
Cool. And what did you find? How many of those are out there?
Well, we did narrow it down because
there were a lot.
There was a lot. For instance, there's 104 active 10 to 15 acre parcels, and of those, 17 are pending. So,
wow.
They range in price anywhere from $70,000 all the way up to $3.8 million. And I am going to note the $3.8 million is a pending sale. It's not just a crazy listing that's on market. So that, for reference, is a pending sale.
How much was that one again?
$3.8 million, and it was 15 acres.
Wow.
And so we'll kind of chat about what your money will get you to at either end of that price point, just so everyone knows. And out of those listings, price point wise, how many were under 200,000?
83 of them are under 200,000.
So out of 100, out of 104, nice.
And did you say the smallest acreage is 10 acres, or what is the smallest? Like, that's a pretty good size chunk.
Yep. And then 14 listings are under the price point of $100K.
Wow. So 10 acres in unincorporated Spokane County, less than $100,000.
Yep. Your money goes a long ways over here.
Let's say, looking at that 70 price point, what would 70K price point for that 10 acre roughly get them, do you think?
You mean like as far as amenities, or what do you mean?
Just in general, if you had to guess, because you're in real estate and this is a fun game we should play. I like this game. If there are 10 acres that are priced at 70K, off the top of your head, what would you assume that land would have to offer?
It's probably, in my opinion, going to be either flat and more.
I know the answer, by the way.
I know you do, obviously. It's going to be flat, probably a lot more visible. There's probably not much treed, if I had to take a guess at that. And then probably in a residential zoned area.
She got it.
Yeah.
It's a 10-acre parcel out more in the flat area of Cheney, Airway Heights. There's no trees, no amenities, no wells. It's just a flat piece of 10 acres for 70K.
And see, and I know
it's flat. You can build on it kind of anywhere.
Yeah. Just move. If any rocks are remaining, you might have to clear some rocks in that area. But
tends to be a little bit rockier out there too, which is why I think they probably factor in for that pricing, which is where my brain was going. Just before, amenities purposes, sometimes it costs a little bit more to get amenities in there because of the type of ground you're on.
We have lower rock.
Yeah. And then for the 3.7 to 3.8 range, whatever it was,
Yeah.
I know what that would be. Do you know what that would be?
I knew what it was.
Okay, good.
It's 15 acres right next to the Amazon building out in Airway. So it's zoned commercial. And right next to the international airport, Amazon. So yeah, 15 acres of commercial land for someone to develop into a pretty big corporate, I'm guessing.
Okay,
and
well, that makes sense. I get it.
90, which makes it extremely accessible, visible, a lot of bypassers, all of the fun things. So
yep,
brings up the price.
Yes. So another thing we want to talk about is sometimes people, when they're buying land, they do want a well already, installed on the land or power.
Yeah.
So we're going to talk a little bit about your price points as if you did want those things already there.
We were able to do this because, again, us being realtors, we have a search platform that allows us to separate how we
search for everything.
So that's where we're going to come up with some of these numbers. So with a well, we have 18 active listings, 3 of them already pending. What's the average price for that one?
They're averaging right at $250K. Okay. Lowest is being around that 120 all the way up to 425. So if you're looking for it to already have a well, think around 250.
Yeah,
for that land, 10 to 15 acres.
And then
is that well and power both there?
That's just the next one we're getting to.
Just a well. All right.
So then for those next set of buyers that are kind of, maybe a little gun shy to just do raw land and they want further amenities. So they want the power in, they want the well in. There's only 6 active listings with those amenities already on there, and one of them is pending already. And that price point does jump up slightly, but not significantly.
No, it looks like that one only increases about to 280, averaging anywhere from 225 up to 360.
Yep.
So slightly more than just the well cost, I would say. But if there's only 6 active out of the 104 total, you're not going to find land as easily that already have these amenities on there.
Okay. And then, of course, you still have to put your septic system in.
Yeah. Oftentimes you won't find land that already has a pre-existing septic unless it was, say, a manufactured home or there was a stick built that's now been essentially deemed
not livable.
Yeah. Or something's been decommissioned essentially. But no matter what you end up doing, you typically are going to have that then be inspected or get a permit reissued
for the septic
use of it.
Yep. Okay, makes sense.
Yep.
So one thing that we want to chat about, and part of where you come in, is we wanted to chat about what type of financing or purchase options people may have if they are looking for land that may or may not be developed with a well or power and whatnot.
There's a conception out there that people have to have either cash or a whole lot of money down to go conventional. And those are the only options. But I have a feeling you have something else to say.
I think your feeling is right on, as a matter of fact, by golly. There are lots of options for purchasing a piece of land and constructing a home, whether it's a stick-built home or a manufactured home, either one. They range from conventional, and I was just chatting with our conventional lender the other day. I believe the minimum down payment is 5% down, I think, for conventional. Possibly 10%. I'd have to double check on that, but it's certainly not, it doesn't have to be 20%. We do have lenders, by the way, that do require the 20% down for a construction loan, but we have lenders that will do less than that as well. And then all of the government entities, FHA, VA, and USDA will all have construction loans now. And it's the same down payment requirement as the regular. So VA, you can potentially purchase land, build a home with 0 down if you have a VA benefit. FHA is 3.5% down. USDA is 0 down, which is amazing. Those are relatively new programs coming out from the government entities, being like last couple of years, I think they've come out. So yeah, there are options for folks. Those are all owner occupied. If you're going to do non-owner, like you're the investor and you want to, then you're going to put a chunk down to do this because it's non-owner occupied. But we still have loans available even in that scenario.
So another question we get oftentimes is, say they're just buying that raw land without any amenities on it. Is there a timeline to which then they have to start construction or complete construction in order to purchase with that construction loan?
That's a great question. Yeah, there is. I don't know exactly what they are. Within a year, pretty much always, and maybe 6 months somewhere in there. I'd have to double check for the program guidelines for the whatever program they're looking at.
And one other question that I get oftentimes too is, can you get those same type of financing options to purchase land to recreate on and not actually build on?
A land loan. We don't do them, but there are a couple of banks I know that do. I think the minimum down payment is 25%, which is actually better than I thought it would be. And then those loans have a balloon payment, and it's typically 5 years, I think. So that lender is anticipating you're buying that land to eventually build on it. But if you have the capacity that you can pay it off in the 5-year time, then you go ahead and do that. And then you're there.
Do you happen to know, say somebody did buy it and they're coming up on the end of their balloon term, then what would they have to do if they have not built or have not paid it off?
Well, I think that you'd be talking to your lender and coming up with an option on that and see if they would modify the loan or allow you to refinance or whatever, maybe extend it. Good question.
I'm sure there's a lot of circumstances that would come into factor on that one, but just was curious if you had any pending.
Yeah, I've actually never known anybody to come up to the balloon payment on a land loan and had to renegotiate with the lender. But I'm sure the lender, as long as you're making good payments with lenders, usually they will work with you. If you haven't been making your payments, usually they won't work with you. So there you go. You're incented to make your payments on time.
Yes. Well, I like to hear that USDA, FHA, and VA, I already knew VA was an option, but I'm glad to hear that the other two recently opened that up for the new construction, because I think that that also very much can help our housing market, as we know. Because if people have the time essentially to do it, the price
resources.
Yeah. Well, and the resources oftentimes, again, like that's good because again, with VA, USDA, that's 0 down, and then FHA being that 3.5% down, that doesn't typically take that much in resources because, correct me if I'm wrong, but with that construction loan, you're not doing the 3.5% of your total overall build price. You're just essentially needing it for the land first, and then the build comes after.
Total overall, we're going to take a look because it'll be a construction loan. So we're going to look at the land and the cost for construction. Those are fairly, excuse me, I don't know what the right word is, complicated loans. There's a lot to them. There's a lot of pieces to that loan. One of them being that the builder needs to be approved by the lending department. So if it's USDA, FHA, or VA, the builder has to be approved there. So there's a process for that. You want to make sure that's done. These are not owner builder loans. You're not going to buy the property and build your own home with one of these. You're going to have a licensed and bonded contractor do the construction. So you need to have that. There is oftentimes a consultant involved, like with FHA. The consultant represents the home buyer, and they look at the numbers and make sure that they think it's reasonable that the builder can build that home for those numbers. And so there's another component there. There's a lot to them, you know, and you need to get, of course, get the permits and all of that, which, as you guys know well, can take quite a while, depending on the situation.
But I think that, I mean, even though it might be a little bit more involved, or even, you know, complicated, but it's not really complicated, I guess.
Yeah, not the best word. I agree. Involved is a better word. I like it.
Yeah, type of a process. I think that even still from a buyer standpoint, and especially as an agent, that's really only there to protect that buyer, to make sure that they're not going to get into a situation that then they're like, how did I get here? And I can't keep going forward. So I think it's a protection layer.
It's that way they have the funds to actually build their entire home, because sometimes when you do things yourself, costs accrue, money goes here a little and there, and then you buy yourself lunch, and then before you know it, half your house isn't done. So it's better when there's little regulation on it. That way the home is getting built and they're protecting themselves as well.
Can you speak to the upfront costs that may be needed, I guess, to get that going for someone? I know
that's a really good question too, because we're going to fund this loan when you're permit ready, right? So the upfront costs include anything to get to that point, and it can be rather substantial. You need a permit for the septic, and you need a permit for the well. You need a permit for the construction. You need the construction plans. You need an architect. You need all of that stuff that gets to that point. So, it's pretty involved to get there, to get all those pieces together. Because the lender can't underwrite the loan unless they know what that you're going to build and what the cost and everything is for that. And you need all of those pieces in place to determine that.
And do you typically find that with an approved builder, that they themselves are going to go and apply for those permits and do all of those renderings for the buyer without any additional?
They certainly know the process and will help. Absolutely, Stephanie. Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah. And the manufactured home. So if you do a manufactured home on land, the manufactured home dealer will take care of almost everything there to get, because they know that process really, really well. So they'll walk through the process with you and make sure you get the proper permits and everything.
Okay.
Well, like always, Stephanie and I actually know some builders in the area that
We do.
are helpful. So if anybody wanted to do the rural land and building route, we're more than happy to help, and we have the resources available to guide you and get you through the process.
And we're really good at walking land and kind of helping gives
us a reason to get out and hike.
There is that. But we're going to also walk kind of helping build a picture while you're out there, because oftentimes I think it's a really kind of daunting,
The vision's hard sometimes.
idea to get out there and when they can't see it. So we're really good at painting that picture for them.
There you go. So it's a daunting process all the way through, but guys, it can be worth it, because you're going to get the home of your dreams that you designed, that has the floor plan that you want, all of that. And almost certainly you're going to have instant equity in that home when you're done. Now you're going to pull your hair out getting there, and you're going to yell at me a couple of times, but I'm going to say, it's okay. We're going to get there. I know there's a delay for this or that, but we're going to make it. And when you get there, it can be very much worthwhile.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll come with a box of tissues for those who want to cry about it, but it's okay. Like you said, it'll be worth it.
Yeah, it can be very much worth it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
We appreciate that.
Well, thank you. I like the land discovery process we did today. That's a lot of properties, parcels out there for sale. So that's kind of cool. Good to know.
Very cool. It is, especially in comparison to the research that we were doing with other true active listings, and then the pendings that are actually available and what people are seeing and what they're able to get, versus like, let's go expand and explore some options, because
the housing market, there are not a lot of already built homes. Like, it's slim in some of these areas. So,
and a lot of people are having a hard time pulling that trigger on houses when, I mean, let's just be honest, rates are a little bit higher. So we know that their payments aren't reflecting a ton of wiggle room necessarily for them to come in and make those modifications or repairs. And so instead of settling on something potentially, this allows them to really get what they want, but they have to practice that lovely fun game of patience.
Yeah. And, while we're talking about this, we have the rehab version of all of these loans as well. So if you find that house that doesn't quite meet your needs, but you can modify the kitchen and do this and do that, there's a rehab loan with all of those different entity lenders that I mentioned to you that can potentially do it that way. More work.
About that the other day.
Yep.
Yes.
All right, Rozella and Steffani in Spokane, Washington. Always a pleasure to chat with you, ladies. Thanks so much for your time today. Great information. Appreciate it.
Thank you. You as well. Have a good day.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.